along with 400 hardy government forces, which included 15 Saudis and 4 Sudanese. The deal was finalized after a week-long meeting held in Lyon, Switzerland, co-chaired by UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Martin Griffiths. 374. The prisoner swap deal was done by the UN during the 2018 peace talks in Sweden, which produced the Stockholm Agreement. The latter consisted of 3 major documents. First one suggested the formation of a committee, the second called for the exchange of prisoners, the third aimed at creating the United Nations mission to support the Al-Hodeidah Agreement, UNMA. 143. Both parties agreed on several measures, including the ceasefire in the strategic port city of Hodeidah. A prisoner swap deal was made as part of the 2018 peace talks held in Sweden. However, the implementation of the plan clashed with military offensives from Houthis and the Saudi-led coalition, which aggravated the humanitarian crisis in Yemen, leaving millions suffering medical and food supply shortages. 374. On the 7th of October, 2022, the UN Human Rights Council adopted, without a vote, a futile resolution on Yemen that failed to establish a credible, independent and impartial monitoring and accountability mechanism. The adoption came a year after the same body rejected the renewal of the mandate for the group of eminent experts, an international, impartial, and independent body established by the Human Rights Council in 2017 that reported on rights violations and abuses in Yemen. 375. Peace process. The Yemeni civil war, which began in 2014, has been one of the most heavy conflicts in history, and caused a severe humanitarian crisis. In recent years, however, there have been several efforts to achieve a peaceful resolution and bringing stability to the country. 376. One of the most important developments in the peace process was the Stockholm Agreement, which was reached in December 2018 between the conflicting parties, the government of Yemen and the Houthi rebels. This agreement focused on implementing a ceasefire in the city of Hodeidah and the areas surrounding the city. The agreement also focused on the redeployment of forces, and addressing humanitarian concerns. The agreement was seen as a significant step to alleviate the suffering of the Yemeni people and for further negotiations. 377. Subsequently, there have been multiple rounds of talks and negotiations facilitated by the United Nations. These discussions have covered a comprehensive political solution, prisoner exchanges and the establishment of a transitional government. The main goal has been to address the causes of the conflict, foster national reconciliation and restore security and stability in Yemen. 378. Another important development in the peace process was the Riyadh Agreement, between the Yemeni government and the Southern Transitional Council, STC, in November 2019. This agreement aimed to solve power struggles in southern Yemen by establishing a power-sharing arrangement between the two parties. It was seen as a significant step towards achieving a unified Yemen and an important component of the broader peace process. 379. While progress has been made, the road to peace in Yemen remains challenging due to ongoing clashes, political divisions and regional rivalries. Additionally, the humanitarian situation in Yemen remains dire, with millions of people in urgent need of assistance. 380. The Wall Street Journal reported in March 2023 that Iran agreed to halt all military support to Houthis and abide by the UN arms embargo, as part of a Chinese-brokered Iran-Saudi rapprochement deal. The agreement was concluded with the objective to put pressure on Houthi militants to end the conflict through negotiated settlement, with Saudi and US officials describing the concomitant Iranian behavior as a litmus test for the endurance of the Chinese brokered detent. The agreement was concluded in the background of Iran's international isolation following the escalation of its nuclear program, an ongoing crackdown on Yemeni protests and its support to Russian invasion of Ukraine. 381, 382, 383, 384, other developments. Armed Houthis ransacked Al Jazeera's news bureau in Sana'a on the 27th of March, 2015, amid Qatar's participation in the military intervention against the group. The Qatar-based news channel condemned the attack on its bureau. 385, on the 28th of March, Ali Abdullah Saleh stated neither he nor anyone in his family will run for president. Despite recent campaigning by his supporters for his son Ahmed to seek the presidency. He also called on Abdrabbi Mansur Hadi to step down as president and said new elections should be held. 386. Rumors about Saleh's whereabouts swirled during the conflict. Foreign Minister Riyad Yassin, a Hadi loyalist, claimed on the 4th of April that Saleh left Yemen aboard a Russian aircraft evacuating foreign nationals from Sana'a International Airport. 387, later in the month, Saleh reportedly asked the Saudi-led coalition for a safe exit for himself and his family, but the request was turned down. 388. King Salman reshuffled the Saudi cabinet on the 28th of April, removing Prince Makroun as his designated successor. The Saudi royal palace said Makroun had asked to step down without giving a reason, but media speculation was that Makroun did not demonstrate sufficient support for the Saudi-led military campaign in Yemen. 389. A spokesman for Yemen's exiled government told Reuters on the 29th of April that the country would officially seek membership in the Gulf Cooperation Council. 390. Media reports have noted that the civil war has reached nearly all of Yemen, with one notable exception being the remote Indian Ocean archipelago of Socotra. 391, where the war spread due to the South Yemen insurgency in 2017. 392, on the 30th of September, 2019, Houthi rebels released 290 Yemeni prisoners in a move, stated by the United Nations as a revival of peace process. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, said. 393, in September, 2020, the United Nations announced a swap of 1,081 conflict-related prisoners between the two opponents, including Saudi and Sudanese troops fighting for the Saudi-led coalition. 394, in October 2020, two American hostages Sandra Lowley and Mikhail Jadada, who had been captives for 16 months, were refreed by the Houthi rebels in exchange for releasing 240 former Houthi combatants in Oman. 395, in January 2021, the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced his intentions of declaring the Houthi movement in Yemen as a foreign terrorist organization. Under the plan, the three leaders of Houthis known as Ansar Allah were to be listed as specially designated global terrorists. However, it induced a fear among the diplomats and aid groups that the move would cause issues in the peace talks and in delivering aid to the Yemen crisis. 396. Although the United Arab Emirates had announced in 2019 to vacate Yemen and withdraw all its troops, the Arab nation continued to maintain its presence for strategic objectives. Reports in May 2021 revealed that the Emirates was building a mysterious airbase on Yemen's Mayan Island in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Satellite images revealed that the construction work to build a 1.85 kilometer 6,070 feet, runway, along with 3 hangars, on the island was completed on the 18th of May 2021. Military officials of the Yemeni government said that the UAE was transporting military equipment, weapons and troops to Mayan Island through ships. The island was considered a strategic location for anyone who controls it, offering power for operations into the Gulf of Aden, the Red Sea and East Africa, and for easily launching airstrikes into Yemen mainland. 397, on the 7th of October, 2021, Bahrain, along with Russia and other members of the UN Human Rights Council, opposed the Council's investigations into the war crimes in Yemen. The members narrowly voted the Netherlands' resolution to give another 2 years to the independent investigators to continue the probe to monitor atrocities in the Yemen war. In the past, independent investigators concluded that potential war crimes have been committed by all sides. An ally of Bahrain, Saudi Arabia is not a voting member of the Council, but rights activists said the kingdom heavily lobbied against the resolution. 398, on the 20th of March, 2022, the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross reported that the Yemeni government and the Houthis agreed to release 887 detainees, following 10 days of negotiations in Switzerland. Both parties also agreed to visitation rights in detention facilities and likely more prisoner swaps in the near future. Hans Grunberg, the UN's Special Envoy for Yemen, said that things are finally moving in the right direction toward a resolution of the conflict. This came after the recent Saudi-Iranian rapprochement mediated by China a week earlier. 399, environmental impact. Water. Yemen is facing one of the world's worst water, sanitation and hygiene, WASH, crises. The lack of governance has left Yemen without a viable water supply. Poor sanitation and the lack of clean water has had a deteriorating effect on the health of Yemenis, which is apparent through the increasing cases of cholera in Yemen since 2015. The entire country has been affected by a water shortage and the price of drinking water has more than doubled. Drinking water has become unaffordable for most Yemenis. The problem in Yemen is widespread, thus making it difficult to reduce the problem from escalating because it is hard to supply everyone on a regular basis. The regional director for the Middle East and North Africa at UNICEF, Jihad Kapilaur, has explained that the fuel shortages in Yemen have deepened the water and health crisis. The water pumping stations in Yemen have been jeopardized as they are quickly running out of fuel, and over 3 million people are dependent on these water pumps, which have been established through public networks. The ICRC has been working closely with vulnerable people where the resources are limited, but aim to prevent the water crisis from worsening by buying 750,000 liters of diesel to provide clean water for people living in Yemen. Already a scarce commodity, the amount of water withdrawn from wells in 2016 reached unsustainable levels. The ICRC has also been working carefully with local authorities to provide water to 330,000 people in Aden. They have also installed wells nearby Aden to provide water to the neighborhood when they are experiencing shortages of water. Water resources have been used by both sides during the war as a tactic during the conflict. Unlike other countries in the Middle East, Yemen has no rivers to depend on for water resources. In 2017, 250,000 people of Thai's total population of 654,330 were served by public water supply networks. As a result of the ongoing conflict, NGOs have struggled to reach the sanitation facilities due to security issues. Since the aerial bombardment, Thais has been left in a critical situation as the current water production is not sufficient for the population. Water availability in Yemen has decreased. 400. Water scarcity with an intrinsic geographical formation in highlands and limited capital to build water infrastructures and provision service caused a catastrophic water shortage in Yemen. Aquifer recharge rates are decreasing while salt water intrusion is increasing. 401. After the civil war began in 2015, the water buckets were destroyed significantly and price of water highly increased. Storing water capacity has been demolished by war and supply chains have been occupied by military personnel, which makes the delivery of water far more difficult. In 2015, over 15 million people need healthcare and over 20 million need clean water and sanitation, an increase of 52% since the intervention.